I'm Stuart Bloor. I'm up bright and early this morning and I'm going perch fishing. In fact, my first perch outing of 2012. But before I do set off, let me show you something. I'm not one for keeping cards and all that sort of thing. And this year I will have been married 25 years. Well, on our 22nd wedding anniversary, so that's 3 years ago, my wife made this very card for me. And look at it there. Beautiful, isn't it? Look at those perch. Anyway, let's get down the canal and see if I can actually materialise some real perch rather than looking at the pictures. I'm here now. That's the canal behind me, as you can see. Great thing about spinning is that you can travel really light. I've got my rod in my hand there. Got a very small bag over my shoulder, and of course a landing net that I've got tucked into the bag. And I'm walking along, going to try a spot and hopefully get a perch for the camera. That'd be great, wouldn't it? First cast. Great thing about spinning, lure fishing in general, particularly this sort of thing I'm doing now, is that you can have your rod made up. You don't need to do any setting up once you get to the water's edge. It's literally just piece the two ends together and cast out like I've just done. I'll give you a few tips during this video on spinning for perch on the canal. So all lure fishing is very different, of course. Pike, perch, zander, and then you've got rivers and lakes. But for this video, I'm on the canal after perch, and that's what I'm going to be focusing on. I've just moved along a few yards. One of the things with spinning and the advantages is that you can cover a lot of ground. And what I tend to do on the canal is I tend to drop into a particular place, have a few casts, and when I say a few casts, I mean literally casting in all angles from the bank, whether it's straight out or of course at varying degrees along the side. And so I'm literally exploring every bit of water that's in front of me. And then, of course, you can retrieve at a different angle, a different speed, all sorts of things that you can try. And hopefully you entice that big perch to take the spinner. I've had a few casts along that little spot there. Moved along a few times, didn't have anything at all, not even a follow through. You often get that with perch, you see them come to the edge. And that's another thing I'd say when you're on the canal. Don't neglect the margins. Margins are important in all types of fishing, of course. Carp anglers are well familiar with that term, margins. And certainly when you're spinning on the canal, the margins, that's where the perch will often take the lure right at the very end. It's almost like it's getting away from them, and so they get it before it gets away. They don't understand the logic of it being lifted from the water, of course. As far as they're concerned, they just want to get it. Anyway, I'm moving down to a spot with a few features, and I'll talk to you about features on the canal. As you saw from those clips there are quite a few overhanging trees on the far bank, and although it's winter, they don't have any leaves on them. Of course, they've still got the branches, and they're hanging over there. Regarding features on the canal, Bear in mind that the canal, certainly I'm talking about the standard ones, not the ship canals, which are very different of course, but the standard ones like the Staffs Worcestershire Canal and Birmingham Mainline Canal and all the others that we get in our area and other parts of the country of course. Bear in mind that they're all man-made, and so they were dug by hand during the Industrial Revolution and beyond as a means of transport, and so you don't have natural features like you would in a river, for example. In a river you can go to the Middle Severn and you can walk across in some areas, and then a few yards downstream it's 10 feet deep. You don't get that on the canal. It's pretty standard, and certainly this canal that I'm on, you've got a couple of shelves at the start of the towpath and the far bank, and then that will drop down into what we call the boat channel. So it's pretty standard, although those are features in themselves of course, aren't they? So we can still use those to our advantage. As far as the fish are concerned, they feed at the bottom of drop-offs, and those shelves do drop off into the boat channel, and that's where in daylight today it's pretty cold. It's a cold start to the day. I'm expecting the perch to be lying at the bottom of that boat channel. Well, it's half time in my short session. You can see the bridge behind me. I've started at one bridge, gone to another, and then I'm going back. It's 0-0 at the moment. I noticed when I was doing the filming, my SBS badge had slipped around there. That wasn't intentional. Wasn't trying to do product placement. If I want to promote something, I'll do it openly and honestly without having to do things like that. But I've put it the other side now, so you won't see it at all for the rest of the film. Heading back to the car now. I got an 89th minute winner, a perch, right at the very end of the session. The thing with spinning, probably more than any other type of angling, spinning on the canal for sure, getting a fish right at the edge. You just haven't got time to set up the camera and film it and all that sort of stuff, and I'm not going to keep a fish on while I get the camera set up, so I'll show the photo anyway. A nice first fish. There'll be plenty more to come, I'm sure. Anyway, there'll be plenty more sessions, that's one thing I can guarantee. So if you want to know how I get on, and of course, as always, read my angling journal, and you can find the link in the description box on the YouTube video.